Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're pulling back the curtain on the revenue engine. And by that, I mean the two absolutely crucial forces that drive a company's growth: personal selling and sales promotion. You know, if you've ever wondered how the most successful companies out there manage to consistently drive immediate action while simultaneously building lasting customer loyalty, well, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First up, we'll look at the modern sales reality. Then, managing the sales engine, followed by the anatomy of a sale. And finally, we'll wrap up with the promotional catalyst.
Okay, Section 1, the modern sales reality. We're going to be moving beyond the stereotypes here. Let me just challenge you directly for a second. What really comes to mind when you hear the word salesperson? Honestly, for a lot of people, it brings up this kind of outdated image, right? Maybe you picture, I don't know, a fast-talking, pushy glad-hander, or someone standing behind a retail counter aggressively trying to close a quick deal. It's a stereotype that, frankly, a lot of us actively dislike. But in today's actual business landscape, that image, it literally couldn't be further from the truth. Just consider this staggering number for a second: $26.5 billion. That's the revenue of Salesforce, and they're a company that literally models the modern standard for sales. Now, they absolutely did not get to that massive number by being pushy. No way. They got there because modern customer-centered selling is actually a highly trained problem-solving profession. Their salespeople, and really the best salespeople everywhere, they succeed by engaging, by listening, understanding the customer's problems, and then actually offering meaningful solutions. So the crucial point here is this massive, fundamental shift in focus. Back in the day, companies often relied on what's called a transaction orientation. The entire goal was just to help the salesperson close a specific, immediate sale. Bam, once the deal was done, they moved on. But today's leading organizations, they've shifted entirely to a relationship orientation. The objective isn't just a single, isolated sale anymore. It's to serve the customer over the long haul in a mutually profitable relationship. You know, if the customer's business doesn't grow, your business doesn't grow. It's really all about partnering for mutual gain. Moving right along to Section 2, managing the sales engine. How we actually go about structuring the force.
Because you can't just send an army of salespeople out blindly, right? They need a real tactical blueprint. Now, there are a few ways to build this. A territorial structure gives a rep an exclusive geographic area, which is great for building deep local ties. Then you have a product structure, which ensures deep technical expertise along very specific product lines. Or you might use a customer structure, which organizes teams by industry to really forge strong bonds with specific, highly important clients. And what about those massive global companies? Well, they use a complex structure. Basically, they just combine all of these to fit their vast, intricate markets.
But even with the absolute perfect structure in place, we hit this really surprising reality. Get this, on average, active selling time accounts for only 37% of a salesperson's total working time. Yeah, the other 63%, it's completely eaten up by travel, administrative chores, waiting around, taking breaks, the whole shebang. It's kind of funny when you think about it, right? The people hired to sell are spending most of their time doing paperwork. And this is exactly why companies are desperately investing in digital Salesforce automation systems and social selling tools. They need to cut down all that admin and get their teams back to actually doing what they do best: engaging with customers.
All right, Section 3, Anatomy of a Sale. Let's break down the 7-step process.
Okay, I want you to imagine you're in the driver's seat for a second, trying to close a really complex, high-value deal. Our source material outlines 7 distinct steps to make this happen, which we've broken down into 2 main phases. Phase 1 is your prep and pitch. You know, you don't just walk up and knock on a door. First, you start with prospecting and qualifying. That's finding the good leads and screening out the bad ones based on their financial ability or their specific needs. Then comes the pre-approach. This is where you learn literally everything you can about the buyer before you even say hello. Next up is the approach, where you make sure that very first meeting gets off to a fantastic start. And finally, the presentation. And look, you aren't just reading off a brochure here. You're telling a compelling value story and presenting a completely customized solution to their specific problem. Then you hit Phase 2, the final hurdles. Step 5 is handling objections. Now, the best salespeople, they don't panic when a customer says no or raises a concern. Actually, they actively seek out those hidden objections and turn them into incredible opportunities, new reasons for buying. Then, Step 6, the big one, closing. You actually have to ask for the order. And finally, step 7, which ties perfectly back into that relationship orientation we talked about earlier, follow up. You always check in after the sale to ensure satisfaction because, well, that's exactly what guarantees repeat business. To really drive home why that 7-step process works so well, we just need to look at what buyers actually want. And the data shows buyers strongly value good listening, empathy, honesty, and follow-through. Above all, they want a dependable partner. But on the flip side, what do they absolutely dislike? Pushy behavior, deceitfulness, and salespeople who show up late and disorganized. Honestly, the relationship-oriented approach is such a real game-changer precisely because it aligns perfectly with the empathy and the genuine problem-solving that modern buyers actually demand.
Which brings us to Section 4, the promotional catalyst. Let's talk about short-term incentives.
So, if personal selling is your long-term relationship-building engine, sales promotion is the short-term adrenaline shot. And guys, it is huge. Today, in the average consumer packaged goods company, sales promotion accounts for a massive 60% of all marketing expenditures. 60%. Product managers are just facing this intense pressure to increase current sales. Their competitors are incredibly fierce. And let's face it, consumers are highly deal-oriented. So companies pour these incredible resources into short-term incentives just to encourage an immediate purchase.
Because we're all exposed to so much promotional clutter every single day, marketers really have to use a wide variety of tools to cut through that noise and urge you to buy, like right now. For consumers, this takes the form of samples, which by the way are super expensive but highly effective for launching new products. It also includes targeted coupons, cash rebates, and premiums. Premiums like getting a free helmet when you buy a mountain bike. You'll also see point-of-purchase displays right at the register, exciting sweepstakes, and even massive event marketing sponsorships. Every single one of these is specifically designed to trigger immediate action. But hey, promotions aren't just for you and me at the grocery store. A huge chunk of that effort actually happens totally behind the scenes. Trade promotions, for example, are absolutely crucial for persuading resellers and retailers to actually carry a brand and, more importantly, give it that prime shelf space. Manufacturers will offer them bulk discounts, allowances, or even what's called push money. And then there are business promotions. Think massive conventions, trade shows, and sales contests. These generate incredibly valuable business leads, and they really motivate a company's own sales force to push even harder. All of which brings us to our final thought. We've seen today that modern revenue generation really requires a delicate balance. Personal selling is your relationship builder. It's what creates the long-term value, the trust, and the mutual profit. Sales promotion, on the other hand, well, that's the catalyst. It triggers that immediate short-term action. And the reality is you rarely succeed with just one or the other. So I want you to look at your own projects or your own organization for a second. If personal selling builds the relationship and sales promotion triggers the action, which one is your business missing? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. I really hope this deep dive helps you go out and optimize your own revenue engine.